morning. I'm Pauline Verzosa. It is Wednesday, the 13th of May, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Now let's get to the stories that matter today. Minority senators urge Senator Bato Dela Rosa to voluntarily surrender after the International Criminal Court confirms the arrest warrant against him. Dela Rosa, who is staying in the Senate, says he is willing to face the charges, but only before a Philippine court. Former President Rodrigo Duterte taps British lawyer Peter Haines as his new lead counsel before the ICC. This comes after the court's pre-trial chamber upheld 3 counts of crimes against humanity against Duterte. And the House of Representatives formally names its prosecution panel for the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. The team will present and defend the articles of impeachment once the Senate convenes as an impeachment court. Now, welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. And now first in the agenda, Senator Tito Sotto and 4 other senators have filed a resolution calling on Senator Bato Dela Rosa to voluntarily surrender to authorities following confirmation that the ICC has issued an arrest order against him. Here's the report.
Former Senate President Tito Sotto and 4 other senators from the minority bloc have filed a resolution urging Senator Bato Dela Rosa to surrender to authorities. The resolution was co-sponsored by Senators Ping Lacson, Kiko Pangilinan, Rizo Ontiveros, and Bam Aquino. Dela Rosa is currently staying at his Senate office after the International Criminal Court confirmed that it had issued an arrest warrant against him. The resolution cited previous instances of voluntary surrender and judicial submission involving former senators who also faced charges and arrest, including Juan Ponce Enrile, Laila de Lima, and Sonny Trillanes. Senator Bato reiterated that he is willing to face the charges against him, but only before a Philippine court. Meanwhile, Malacanang said all accused individuals would be treated equally and in accordance with the law.
Maski naman po yung mga EJK victims ay humihingi rin po ng proteksyon sa gobyerno. So, ang akusadong katulad ni Senator Bato ay humingi ng proteksyon. Lahat naman po ay bibigyan ng proteksyon na naaayon sa batas.
Palace Press Officer Claire Castro also dismissed Dela Rosa's statement that President Marcos could face charges or arrest after leaving office.
Sana tinanong niyo muna kung anong kaso. Kasi kung pag-uusapan natin kung madadala siya sa dahig, that's definitely impossible. Kasi ang Pangulo ay hindi nag-commit ng EJK.
In an interview with News 5's Frontline Pilipinas, Dela Rosa said he has no regrets about returning to the Senate.
May pagsisisi ba na nagpakita ka at bumalik kayo sa Senado?
Wala akong pagsisisi. Desisyon ko yun eh. Ang pinagsisihan ko ngayon kung bakit ako masyadong matapat sa aking tungkulin from day one of my military and police service. Bakit ako nagtrabaho ng husto? Yun rin pala. At the end of the day, mamalasing ka lang rin pala sa yung tapat na pagsisilbi ng bayan.
The senator added that he returned to the Senate to participate in key votes on leadership changes and impeachment-related matters. Kapatid Mobile Journal Julie Baiza, We're One News.
The Philippine National Police says there is still no order to arrest Senator Bato Dela Rosa, who remains at the Senate amid an ICC warrant. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes reports.
No order yet to arrest Senator Bato Dela Rosa. This was the PNP stand on the former PNP chief turned lawmaker who is currently seeking refuge at the upper chamber building. That's after NBI agents tried to arrest him on Monday, May 11. The NBI, together with former Senator Antonio Trillanes, were carrying an order from the International Criminal Court ordering Dela Rosa's arrest as a co-perpetrator in the crimes against humanity case of former President Rodrigo Duterte. The Philippine National Police, however, said the local bureau of the International Criminal Police Organization, or Interpol, has yet to coordinate with them regarding the arrest warrant against Dela Rosa, which the police force said is ready to implement once it comes out.
Ang CIDG ang pangunahing unit ng Philippine National Police na sinasabi natin mangunguna doon sa contingency plan na i-implement natin. So handang-handa naman ang Philippine National Police, lalo na po yung ating CIDG personnel, na kung sakasakaling maitap na sila ng NCBP-CTC na implement yung ICC warrant. At ito ipapatupad at sila handang-handa naman.
The PNP spokesperson further added that the warrant for Dela Rosa's arrest may be implemented in 2 ways. The first option, Tuanyo said, is extradition. The second option is direct surrender under Republic Act 9851 or the Philippine Act on Crimes Against International Humanitarian Law, genocide, and other crimes against humanity. The NCBP-CTC would then task the Department of Justice, the Department of Foreign Affairs, the PNP, and the NBI with implementing the directive, which Tuanyo said is yet to happen. So the question now, can Bato actually just leave the Senate? Well, based on the PNP's update, he can. But the senator remains holed up in the Senate. He actually spent the night there after his encounter with the NBI on Monday.
Hindi kayo nakatulog po. Sir, bakit? Are you worried kaya hindi kayo nakakatulog?
Currently, Dela Rosa's camp is exhausting all legal remedies to prevent his arrest. There is a petition filed before the Supreme Court where Dela Rosa is seeking protection from the ICC warrant. His lawyers continue to argue that only a local court can issue a warrant for the senator. The SC, they say, needs to clarify this.
It is very important so that the tension would be at least stopped or at least lessened. So that while the petition is, the main petition is still being deliberated, there is a TRO that will be issued hopefully, and that would stop the PNP and other government agencies.
Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano maintains that Dela Rosa will continue to have the Senate's protection unless a local court issues a warrant for his arrest. This is why Dela Rosa is determined to fight his impending capture.
Kahit sino, tanongin natin sinong Pilipino gusto gano'ng mangyari. We will exhaust all available means, legal means. Kailangan gawin natin lahat para hindi na tayo madala doon sa dahig.
An emotional Dela Rosa even went as far as to ask President Bongbong Marcos not to surrender him to the ICC.
Hindi lang para sa akin, kundi para na rin sa lahat ng mga Pilipino na malagay sa ganitong sitwasyon. Tao lang ako. Hindi ako robot. Hindi ako makina. Tao lang ako. My appeal is sincere to the President. Huwag niya akong ipadala sa dahil. Kung meron akong nanagutan, panagutin ko dito sa ating local court. Huwag doon sa Banyaga.
Kapatid mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes, we are One News.
And in other news, former President Rodrigo Duterte has tapped British lawyer Peter Haynes as his new lead counsel before the International Criminal Court. Haynes is best known for securing the 2018 appeals acquittal of former Congo Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba in one of the ICC's rarest full reversals. He replaces Nicholas Kaufman, whose one-year contract ended on March 31. Kaufman told the court that Haynes was ready, willing, and able to assume immediate representation and attend the May 27 status conference. The shakeup in Duterte's defense team came weeks after the ICC pretrial chamber upheld 3 counts of crimes against humanity against the former president. A former president, Duterte's daughter, Kitty Duterte, has filed another motion before the Supreme Court urging immediate action on the consolidated petitions for habeas corpus on the return of the former president from The Hague. Filed through her legal counsel, attorney Paulo Panelo, the motion stressed that more than a year has passed since the petitions were submitted without any substantive action from the High Court. The petition also cited recent developments in the Senate, including the events on May 11 involving Senator Bato Dela Rosa. Meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte, who is currently in The Hague to visit her father, has provided updates on the former president.
Okay lang siya. Nabalitaan ko siya sa mga nangyari sa Pilipinas, maliban na lang dun sa may kinalaman sa ICC. Majority ng aming pinag-usapan ngayon ay patungkol sa pag-aasawa. Ay nag-agree kaming dalawa na para magkaroon ng successful na pagsasama ang mag-asawa, kailangan hiwalay ang kanilang kwarto.
Don't go away. We will be back with more stories right after this break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and we give you the context behind the headlines. Legal scholars are urging the Senate to immediately convene and proceed with the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. In a joint statement, legal luminaries commended the House of Representatives for approving the impeachment complaint, but criticized what they described as brazen attempts to stall the start of the trial. They stressed that the Senate's refusal or failure to act as an impeachment court could constitute a dereliction of duty and a violation of the Constitution. Meanwhile, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines also called on senators to follow the constitutional process and to proceed with the impeachment trial without delay. The Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry echoed the appeal, urging swift but orderly proceedings, saying the country must move forward while ensuring due process is upheld.
What we're requesting is always go by the rules of law. Let's look so at least we build credibility not only to our Filipinos but also to the world that whatever happens in the Philippines, there's still rule of law and we do it fast and we do it for the country. It should happen. Forthwith is we have to do it.
Well, the House of Representatives has formally named its prosecution team for the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte before the Senate. The prosecution panel is composed of Representatives Jerve Luistro, Keith Flores, Bel Zamora, Lawrence Defensor, Joel Chua, Laila De Lima, and Shel Diokno. Also included in the team are Representatives Terry Ridon, Raj Gutierrez, Kaka Bagao, and Lordan Suan. The House prosecutors will present and defend the articles of impeachment once the upper chamber formally convenes as an impeachment court. And joining us this morning is Attorney Tranquil Salvador, the Dean of the Law School or School of Law and Jurisprudence of Manila Adventist College. Good morning, Attorney, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Good morning, Pauline. Good morning to your televiewers. Good morning, everyone.
All right. Well, first of all, what is your reaction to the composition of the House prosecution team?
Well, that is within the prerogative of the House of Representatives. That is within the mandate of the Constitution that they choose among themselves who would constitute the prosecution team. If you would note, they have completed the process of determination of form sufficiency, grounds and probable cause. The plenary has voted, and the Committee on Justice was formed by or would constitute members also some of the prosecution team.
And I believe they're all lawyers, right, Attorney? How significant is that when it comes to the trial of the Vice President at the Senate?
I would assume that all of them are lawyers because for you to be able to prosecute, there should be minimum knowledge of the law, of the rules, admissibility of evidence, and of course, objections, which are very necessary, should an evidence which is questionable be raised in the course of the proceedings.
All right. Well, Attorney, the week began with a major leadership shakeup at the Senate because it happened on the same day the House of Representatives voted overwhelmingly to impeach Vice President Sara Duterte. But now, given the new Senate alignment, is there reason for the public to question or even doubt whether the impeachment trial will proceed as expected despite the assurances given by new Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano?
You know, the public will always think. The public will always speculate on things that may or may not happen. And that is the reason why there are analysts around, legal or political analysts. They would want to see where is this going. Now, some would speculate that probably they will not constitute as an impeachment court. Some would like that the impeachment court be constituted immediately. Now, what does the Constitution say? Trial will have to proceed. The jurisdiction to conduct the impeachment trial is with the Senate.
Well, legal scholars and constitutional experts are already urging and warning against the potential or possible delays in the impeachment process. But as we know, the Supreme Court has already defined the term forthwith, right, attorney? And it means within a reasonable period. Now, given that the Senate has the prerogative on how to interpret this, do they legally have the discretion to delay, to defer, or effectively sideline the impeachment trial of VP Sara?
Pauline, let us put it in the proper context. For those of you who've read probably the press release or the decision of the court, there are two important items that were highlighted there of the Supreme Court to the Senate as a branch of government. And second, the recognition that the trial would proceed within a reasonable time. And when we say reasonable time, that does not mean necessarily forever, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. If you read it, the Supreme Court said, depending on the circumstances of each case. It could be tomorrow, it could be in a week, depending on how they will prepare for the trial. Let's try to paint the picture. Naturally, the plenary having voted, they will forward articles of impeachment to the Secretary General of the Senate. Naturally, that will be forwarded to the Senate President. Then it will be him, the Senate President, who will act. He will constitute, I will put you on oath, and whatever preparations. So I think the public is very much aware, and the public is watching on what the next steps will be. And the political leaders are aware of this. They know that there will be serious consequences if the impeachment court is not constituted within a reasonable time of if you want to use it immediately, within the subject to the circumstances prevailing at a particular time.
So the next question there, attorney, is how long can senators delay or defer this impeachment trial? And what would be the legal implications if they refuse to convene as an impeachment court? You have some experts saying that that would be courting a constitutional crisis.
Okay. Again, let us address that. As you said a while ago, that has been defined in the case of Enrillo versus House of Representatives. I would like to address your statement. They are probably courting a constitutional crisis. Let us paint that scenario. Let us paint a scenario that some thinkers or analysts would they will not constitute. They delay, they dribble, they dance around. Now, what do we expect? We expect multiple filings of petitions to the Supreme Court under Article 8, Section 1, saying that that's grave abuse of discretion. You cannot exercise discretion beyond that which is provided for in the Constitution. The Constitution says trial will have to proceed. Therefore, let's again state this. If they refuse, I don't think they will refuse. If they say they delay, as others would surmise, then the public is there. The petitions that I am saying probably would be filed. At this point in time, I would assume that if in the next 2 weeks or there will be no action on the part of the Senate, I would expect that some are preparing petitions now.
But also, attorney, ideally, senator judges are expected to be impartial when it comes to this impeachment trial. But do you think the senators who supported the recent leadership change are already signaling how they may position themselves once the impeachment trial formally begins? Because at the end of the day, an impeachment is a numbers game. It's a political game.
It's good that you mentioned that. Sometimes we, the public, miss the realities. That has been stated by the Supreme Court. This is a constitutional, this is a legal, and this is a political process. There is much effort to say that you have to follow the processes, you have to follow the periods. It has to be done in this order. That is the constitutional, that is the legal process. But somehow we cannot avoid the reality that they are politicians. And therefore, somehow they're affected by the reaction of the public, the pulse of the public. Sometimes they're quiet and wanting to see where this goes. Now you're asking me, would we know at this point in time how they will vote? I will tell you this, and I have consistently stated this. This matter is very fluid. Up until they cast their vote, you can never really be too sure. And I'm speaking not upon speculation. I'm speaking based on some experience on this matter. That probably some people will say, oh, he favors the vice president. oh, it's against the vice president. He ruled against an objection. He made the statements negative. He made the statement negative to decide. Probably they will vote. Then they will put a picture and then say, vote, vote, vote. No, 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 no. You'll be surprised that up until they vote, you wouldn't really know.
Well, Attorney Salvador, you were part of the defense panel during the impeachment trial of former Chief Justice Renato Corona. I mean, what lessons from the Corona impeachment should today's prosecution panel, defense team, and even the senator judges keep in mind as this new process unfolds?
Well, let me give first the insights on the defense, because I was part of the defense. I would want them, for me, and let me share my thoughts at the time. We will just have to say what is in the rule, what is in the law. Now, another thing I think that may affect the defense team would be the opinion, perception, or directed information moving around. Some people will tell you, oh, this is what will happen. Oh, this is what will happen. And then if you follow everything that you hear and you say, you will lose sight of your goal. Just focus, be committed to the goal. As I said, you cannot really say what the outcome is. Try your best, give your best for the Filipino people, and let's see what the outcome would be. That's how I see it on the part of the defense. On the part of the prosecution, I think the prosecution will always be the prosecution. The prosecution would want an outcome which is favorable to them, which is naturally a conviction. I don't want to give advice, because some would say, who are you to give an advice to the prosecution? But I think, let me see it within the lens of an ordinary person. I think an ordinary person or the third party would like to see that we work within the parameters of the law, that we work within the parameters of evidence. While we know that all of them are politicians, it's very hard to separate this. We just really hope that the matter, the legal and the constitutional matter, will not just be mixed with the political and say what is the political is the legal.
Well, Attorney, one major lesson from the Corona impeachment was how technical legal issues, particularly involving SAL-N and disclosure requirements, eventually became central to the verdict and the conviction of former Chief Justice Renato Corona. Do you think it will also come down to that when it comes to Vice President Sara Duterte?
I think that would be a major issue in discussion, especially the SAL-N. Why? Because if you look at history here, you have Chief Justice Corona. That was the single article voted, if I could remember it right. During the Committee on Justice hearings on the part of former Chief Justice Sereno, that was also the center and the core of the discussion. Now, you saw it now in the Committee on Justice involving the VP Sara impeachment. That was not the center, but somehow some of the House of Representatives members swayed because of what they saw. So I think this will be one of the more important issues to be presented not only to the defense, but especially to the public, on how the public will become.
What are your thoughts, Attorney, when it comes to this green box containing the tax records, the BIR records of the Vice President? Can and should this be opened in the Senate once this becomes a full-blown impeachment trial?
Well, let's look at it again in the eyes of the law. Well, if there's every reason to open it, there is good grounds to open it, and the impeachment court has power, they can open it. Let's look at it on a political standpoint. If you were able to follow the hearings in the Committee on Justice, they are trying to present an idea wherein, what is inside the box. They're very aware of history. Because remember, there was an envelope that was supposed to be opened in the impeachment of former President Estrada. There was some sort of a refusal. There was, I think, also another matter that was subject of inquiry of the Senate as impeachment court involving CJ Corona. So now, to my mind, and I'm saying this as a legal matter, but as a political matter, probably they would want to catch the interest of the public. It's very easy to pass on the information. Why? Ano ba yan? Buksan na ba natin ang kahon? Ano ang laman ng kahon? Pera o kahon? This is part of an information. There's nothing wrong to do that because, as I said, it's both a legal, constitutional, and political process. And it's very easy to translate that information to the public. Kahon. Ano naman ang kahon? Everyone wants to see what's inside the box, whatever box it is.
All right, well, we're going to leave that there for now, but thank you very much for your time and for your great insights. That was Attorney Tranquil Salvador. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pauline. Good morning.
Do stay tuned. Morning Matters. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Well, as reported earlier, former President Duterte has named British barrister Peter Haines as his new lead counsel before the International Criminal Court. Haines built his reputation after winning the 2018 appeals acquittal of former Congo Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba in one of the ICC's most high-profile reversals. He also made history as the first lawyer re-elected president of the ICC Bar Association and was tapped by the court in 2024 to represent Joseph Kony in a landmark proceeding. Haines now takes over from Nicholas Kaufman and is expected to immediately step into Duterte's defense ahead of the May 27 status conference. And weighing in on this latest development is ICC-accredited lawyer and a common legal representative of the victims, Attorney Gilbert Andres. Attorney, good morning and welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Pauline, and thanks for having me.
All right, first of all, Attorney, what is your reaction to the withdrawal of Attorney Nicholas Kaufman as the lead counsel of former President Duterte?
Well, on behalf of the victims, the
Attorney?
victims want to state that despite the withdrawal, they will still... Hello?
Yes, Attorney.
Hello?
You were coming in a bit choppy, but let's try that again. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you, Paul.
All right. Go ahead, Attorney.
I think the victims want to emphasize that despite the change of counsels for the defense, they should not delay the proceedings and that the proceedings should still push through. In fact, there was an assurance in the defense filing that the new counsel is ready, willing, and able to assume immediate representation.
And that is on May 27. But I wanted to ask, Attorney, could the sudden change in the legal representation of the defense affect the timeline of the ICC proceedings in any way?
Well, victims' position is it should not. Why? On two grounds. First, the victims, they have also the right to expeditious proceedings. Secondly, there was an assurance in the filing that the new counsel is ready, willing, and able, and that's very important. Why? Because even the accused has the right to be tried without undue delay. And third, all of us listed counsels in the ICC, we actually have a duty to the court under our Code of Professional Conduct that we will conduct our client's case expeditiously without unnecessary delay.
But Attorney, as a lawyer, what did you make of the legal strategy here of the Duterte camp? I mean, is it advisable for a respondent to change his lead counsel at such a crucial stage of the trial?
Well, to be frank, I will not anymore deal with that because I represent the victims. Is now the accused has the right to change his counsel. So I will just leave it at that.
All right. Well, Peter Haines has been named as Kaufman's replacement, and Attorney, he is known internationally for his work as a criminal and humanitarian lawyer. He also served as president of the ICC Bar Association. How do you think he will change the dynamics here in the defense of the former president? What can he bring to the defense?
Well, I really hope that he, in accordance with the Code of Professional Conduct, in accordance with also the right of the accused client, I expect as a fellow counsel that he will conduct the defense in an expeditious manner, in a manner that will not unduly delay the proceedings, and also in a manner that will respect the right of the victims to expeditious proceedings. So that in the end, everyone will also have their day in court and the victims will have their day to truth and justice.
And as we mentioned earlier, Attorney, one of Peter Haynes' most notable cases was securing the acquittal of former Congolese Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba on an appeal. But if we take a look at this with the case of former president, how different or maybe how similar is the situation now involving President Duterte?
Well, at the end of the day, it still is the evidence, the law, and the facts that will be proven. So this is different. Why? Because there are different facts here in the case of prosecutor versus Rodrigo Roa Duterte. And we still have to have the trial. So let's wait.
And there has also been speculation, Attorney, about the cost of hiring high-profile international lawyers for ICC cases. But maybe help us understand just how expensive legal representation can be before the ICC now that the defense has gotten the services of Peter Haynes.
Yes. Just for approximation, of course, there's this billable hours, and then there's that pounds per hour. So maybe at least 1,000 US pounds per hour. I don't really know, because that's between the client and the defense counsel. But I can say that it's really more than what's being paid here in the Philippines.
All right. Well, in his filing, Attorney Kaufman said that Peter Haynes, as you mentioned also, Attorney, has already been informed about the deadlines, and he says he would be available for the status conference on May 27. But tell us, Attorney Andres, what exactly happens during a status conference and why is it important?
Well, the first status conference on May 27 will really deal with administrative matters on the case. So, for example, the prosecutor will actually manifest how many witnesses they will present, and then the amount of evidence, whether or not they will resort to expert witnesses, or whether or not they will also use other proceedings under the rules. And then there will also be a point wherein the victims will also give their observations. And in fact, the parties and participants will file our observations this Friday. So this is really the nitty-gritty of the details of the admin matters of the case. So let us not expect substantive matters such as what will be
Attorney Andres? It seems...
for example, there will be no witnesses in this status conference hearing. So it's more of detailed.
All right. Well, it seems our connection with Attorney Andres has turned choppy. We will try to get him back on the line. All right, Attorney, our apologies for problems with the connection, but can you hear me okay now?
Yes, I can hear you, Pauline.
Okay, so Attorney, earlier we're talking about how observations will also be submitted by the victims. So are you already done with this process? And what exact observations will they be submitting here? Observations on what?
Well, these are observations on 10 matters that were actually included in the instructions of the trial chamber. For example, commencement date of the trial, and then for the prosecution, it's anticipated evidence, and then agreed facts, languages to be used by the parties, participants, and the witnesses, and then for the prosecution, disclosure of outstanding materials in its possession, and then disclosure by the defense whether it wants to advance its intended defense, and then provision for trial briefs, motions requiring resolution before the start of the trial, estimated length of opening statements, and updates and forecasts on additional applicants by victims to participate. So these are really the admin matters of the case.
So kumbaga yung nitty-gritty talaga, no, as you mentioned, attorney. But will this status conference be live streamed or will it be done in private among the prosecutors, the defense, and even the common legal representatives of the victims? All right, well, we are having some technical problems with Attorney Gilbert Andres, but he was talking about.
And it's available.
He was talking about the details of the May 27 status conference of the ICC, where they will be talking a lot about administrative matters. Attorney Andres, do we have you back on the line?
This will be streamed online. There might be a 30-minute delay, but it's available on the ICC website as well as on YouTube.
So, based on the pace of the proceedings, attorney, when can we realistically expect the trial to begin?
Well, for the victims, they want it as soon as possible. And then if we reasonably look at the procedure, we really hope that it will start first week of September.
September of this year, tama, attorney, no? 2027. But Attorney Conti was also telling us yesterday
September
na
of this
baka
year, 2026.
by 2026, baka umabot daw po ng February 2027. It could also take that long. Tama po ba?
Well, I understand that approximation because at the end of the day, these are approximations. But the victims want to emphasize that they want to have proceedings as reasonably as soon as possible. That's why we're pushing for first week of September of 2026.
And attorney, we also wanted to get your thoughts now that the ICC has confirmed and unsealed the arrest warrant against Senator Bato Dela Rosa. But as we know, he has sought refuge in the Senate as a safe haven for him. But what is the proper process here of enforcing an arrest warrant? Does it need to pass a local court? And what happens if Senator Bato refuses to surrender to the ICC?
You know what, from the part of the victims, they're deeply disappointed, detective custody to Senator Bato, because the context here is that he is being wanted for an international crime, crimes against humanity, and it's a crime anywhere in the world. So this is not just a crime here in the Philippines. That's why for the victims, they're really calling for the Senate to really surrender Mr. Bato Dela Rosa to the ICC, and for Mr. Bato Dela Rosa to voluntarily surrender himself to the ICC.
Are there still legal remedies available for Senator Bato Dela Rosa? We also heard him appealing to President Marcos for protection, but at this point, what options does Malacanang have? Can Philippine authorities, attorney, legally refuse to enforce an ICC arrest warrant?
You know, the basis really, Pauline, for implementing an ICC arrest warrant is our own domestic law. It's Republic Act 9851, or the IHL Act, which was passed on December 2009. Section 17 provides that in the interest of justice, yes, the Philippine authorities may surrender a person who's being investigated or prosecuted before an international tribunal. It's very important to note that RA 9851 was passed even before we became a party to the Rome Statute. Hence, we actually recognize already that international crimes are different from merely domestic crimes, and they are the most serious crimes of concern to the international community. That's why there's that provision for surrender of someone who's being a suspect for an international crime.
Ito, attorney, hypothetically speaking, may ilang nagtataka, is it possible for Senator Bato Dela Rosa to serve as a state witness against former President Rodrigo Duterte at the ICC in exchange possibly for a lighter penalty? Again, we're just hypothetically speaking.
In that hypothetical, I will also give a hypothetical. I don't think so, because the person was named as a co-conspirator. Therefore, he is one of the primary suspects, so I don't think that there's an option for that.
All right. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. That was ICC accredited lawyer and the common legal representative of the victims, Attorney Gilbert Andres. Good morning, Attorney, and thank you. Now, don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss right after this break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Despite losing one leg, a skater from Iligan City is proving that determination and talent can overcome any obstacle. Mobile journalist Francis Rivera has this report.
Bilib ang mga netizens sa talento na nakilala ko mula sa Iligan City. Kahit kasi putol ang isa niyang paa, hindi ito naging hadlang para sa hobby niyang skateboarding.
Bata pala ang hilig ng mag-skate ni Alray Turing o mas kilala ngayon bilang prosthetic leg skater. Ipinanganak siyang walang kanang paa. Pero hindi raw ito naging balakid sa hilig dahil nakatulong naman daw kasi ang kanyang prosthetic leg.
Una, sobrang hirap po talaga gumawa ng tricks. Kasi hindi ako comfortable sa prosthetic. Minsan masakit din kasi yung impact kapag nauna ko yung pagtalon ko, pag nauna ko yung leg ko, yung prosthetic, masakit po talaga siya. Dapat pagtalon ko po, bali yung hindi putol ang mauna talaga.
5 taong gulang daw siya nung unang gumamit ng prosthetic leg. Kaya naman bawat pyesa nito at problema, siya na raw mismo ang nagkukumpuni.
Nung nasira siya, parang wala na pa talaga akong pag-asa nun kasi wala na akong alam kung kanina ako hihingi ng tulong para makapag-prosthetic leg ulit, para makapag-skate tsaka makapunta ng school. Yung nasira na po talaga siya, pinag-isipan ko talaga na i-repair ko siya.
Bukod sa pagiging estudyante at skater, content creator na rin si Alray. Doon niya ibinabahagi ang iba't iba niyang tricks sa kanyang skateboard. Pero hindi pa rin daw siya nakaiwas sa mga negatibong komento. Sa kabila niyan, labis ang pasasalamat ni Alray sa mga humahanga sa talento niya.
Shake daw yung leg ko, tsaka EI daw yung pag-skate ko. Salamat sa pag-suporta sa akin. Sana magpatuloy kayo sa pag-suporta sa akin. Para may patuloy ko yung pag-skate ko. Tsaka pag-aaral.
Ano mang kondisyon na meron tayo, mahalaga ay kumpiyansa at may tiwala tayo sa ating sarili, lalo na sa talentong pinagkaloob sa atin. Mga kapatid, Mobile Journal Francis Rivera po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
And now in sports, the 2026 MPTC Tour of Luzon has reached its 14th and final stage. And the concluding stage will start in Lingayen, Pangasinan and finish in Baguio City. And for the latest updates, we now go to our mobile journalist, Denise Valdez-Sancho. All right, Denise, tell us what's in store today.
Good morning, Pauline. The stage 14, the last and final stage of the Tour of Luzon 2026 is underway. Gun start will begin in a few minutes. By 9 a.m., riders will be rolling out from Pangasinan up here in Baguio City, where the finish line will be headed. And the awarding ceremony or the closing ceremony will also be held here later on. But before that, let's talk about yesterday's win by Min Kyung-ho of Seoul Cycling Team, where he crushed the course of a 20-minute loop from Lingayen to Lingayen, all within 25 minutes and 39 seconds to claim the purple jersey. But after that, it's still Nikita Shulchenko who is the overall leader of the tour. But here, Nikita Shulchenko finished right after Min Kyung-ho. So today, it's going to be an exciting race because, again, this is the final one. That's going to be 177.8 kilometers from Pangasinan here to Baguio. The tour has been going on. It's been 14 days and 14 stages across 13 provinces and 5 regions. So today, we will be seeing if Nikita Shulchenko will still be the overall leader or kung may makakahabol ba, if the standings will be shaken up for the Tour of Luzon 2026.
Denise, were you able to speak to any of the participants? How are they feeling now that they are in the final stage?
Mm-hmm. I got to talk to the rider yesterday, Min Kyung Ho. Well, since he got the win yesterday from the individual time trial, momentum is on his side, and he will be bringing it here to stage 14. But then again, it's Nikita Shulchenko. He is still leading all of the riders from stage 1 to stage 14. So we will see kung kaya bang makahabol ng ibang riders. In particular, Anton Ubi. Sila yung nagtutunggali ngayon. A Filipino rider though, Nash. The name is Nash. He's a Filipino rider. At titingnan natin kung makakahabol or makakapasok siya at least for the top 3. But right now, all eyes are on Nikita Shulchenko of LCW if siya ba yung overall leader for the whole tour, Pauline.
And Denise, what awaits the winner of the 2026 MPTC Tour of Luzon?
The winner for the overall race will be receiving ₱1 million. So, mamaya malalaman na din natin agad because the results immediately pumapasok naman yan, and the winner will be receiving ₱1 million. We will see kung paano yung magiging hatian dyan, but that's what we know for the overall leader.
And Denise, I know you've been following this race since the beginning. How would you describe this year's Tour of Luzon?
Well, this year's Tour of Luzon, many would say marami ang natuwa because mas nag-improve nga siya aside from more stages compared to last year na 8 stages, and we were able to cover 14 stages across 13 provinces, 5 regions. So a lot of people are happy. LGUs are also happy dahil nga buhay na buhay ulit yung cycling in the Philippines, at least within Luzon. So hopefully ngayon pa lang, kahit hindi pa nagtatapos yung race, ay marami nang nag-aabang what's in store for Tour of Luzon 2027.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that report. And of course, best of luck to all the participants. That was mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho. And in other news, the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, or SBP, and Cignal TV have renewed their broadcast partnership for continued coverage of local and international basketball events. Mobile journalist Ray Vicente has this report.
Partnership renewed. The Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, or SBP, and Cignal TV signed the contract renewal on Tuesday, May 12, continuing more fruitful years for broadcast partnership. With their long-standing collaboration, SBP is already assured that Cignal TV's expertise on sports broadcasting will provide more quality sports content to the Filipinos.
The partnership throughout the years has been very productive, at least on our side. I hope Cignal can say the same. Obviously, it's the expertise of Cignal TV when it comes to sports broadcasting and marketing. It's already there, so all we have to do is partner with them to benefit from that as well.
Other representatives from both organizations also attended the signing ceremony at Cignal's office, including MediaQuest President, which is also the President of SBP, Victor Rico Vargas, alongside MQuest Chief Finance Officer Christopher Lizo, and Cignal's Chief Revenue Officer Gerard Milan. Meanwhile, the Basketball League's Executive Director also cited the upcoming event with Cignal, where the country will host the tournament.
Year to year yung contract natin on the marketing side, but we have a longer term agreement with Cignal also as our TV partner. In the near future, at least, we are hosting the Siaba qualifiers for the FIBA Asia Cup U18 Women's tournament in Bacolod from June 2 to 6, and Cignal will be there with us to cover the event.
The FIBA U18 Women's Asia Cup Siaba qualifiers will feature delegates across Southeast Asia. But aside from this, both organizations hope to expand the reach of their future basketball plans to other areas in the Philippines this year. Kapatid Ray Vicente, we are One News.
All right, and that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Kapatid, we are One News. All sides, all the time.